A wrestler's finishing move is the most important move in their wrestling arsenal. There have been some iconic finishes over the years, from the pedigree to the tombstone piledriver, yet there are some finishing moves that pale in comparison to the wrestler's signature move. This signature move usually looks more devastating and is executed far better than the finishing move, yet the wrestler decides to continue using their established finisher. But which ones were they? Well, join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 10 WWE wrestlers whose signature move was more devastating than their finisher. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out Wrestlelamia.co.uk and our own wrestling channel, Incredible. Number 10. Umaga. The character of Umaga debuted in WWE back in 2006 and was instantly presented as a credible and legitimate threat. Umaga didn't just have a strong character, he was a fantastic in-ring performer and could hang with the very best in the WWE. But one of the most notable things about the Samoan Bulldozer was that he would use an unusual move as his finisher. This would be called the Samoan Spike, and it would see Umaga use his thumb as a weapon and stab his opponent right in the throat. The WWE had a difficult time at first trying to get the move over, as it didn't look too menacing. Yet thanks to experts selling by a committed roster, the move eventually became synonymous with Umaga and his matches. Umaga did use a signature move that was far better than the aforementioned Spike. This would be a pop-up Samoan drop and it would look superb. Umaga could hit this move on anyone, and it wouldn't be a ridiculous claim to state that Umaga's version of the move could be one of the very best. Number 9. Test. Throughout the Attitude Era and into the Ruthless Aggression Era, Test was a solid hand in the mid-card. He was a decent in-ring talent, but there was always something holding him back which prevented him from reaching the next level. During his early days, Test would use a pump handle slam and a diving elbow drop as his finishing move. Test would quickly change these to signature moves as he would start using a devastating big boot, as well as known as the Test Drive. These moves, whilst executed well, didn't match up to Test's diving elbow drop. To see a man of Test's size and stature leap across the ring from the top rope was a sight to behold. Naturally, moves of this nature take a toll on the body, and this was in all likelihood why Test tried to limit his usage of the move. Number 8. Christian. A former world champion, Christian is widely considered to be one of the most underrated talents of all time. Christian had an extensive moveset, yet his finisher was kind of underwhelming. The kill switch had a habit of looking messy at times, and it was never truly a move that signaled that the match was ever over. Christian did have a much superior signature move, that being the falling inverted DDT. This move was quick and sudden, and Christian did use it from time to time to secure a victory. During the Ruthless Aggression Era, Christian was also prone to doing the inverted DDT onto his knee, which looked fantastic and extremely painful. Number 7. Edge. Now, in terms of wrestlers who have the most impactful spear, Edge probably isn't in the discussion. Whilst Edge has achieved great success with his version of the move, there are certain other moves in his arsenal which are far superior. Edge's impaler DDT, known as the Edgecution, has always been executed to perfection, and it's a shame that Edge has viewed the move as just a standard signature move. Edge has also used the Anti-Venom following his return to WWE in 2020. This was a standing front choke, and whilst being vastly different to anything else in Edge's moveset, it looked rather legitimate. Number 6. Kevin Owens. Back in 2016, Kevin Owens believed that he needed to move away from performing the pop-up powerbomb as his finishing move. Owens believed that the move was overdone and that the move he was looking to introduce as his finisher was the Stunner. Owens does occasionally use the pop-up powerbomb, but it's very much a signature maneuver, and the Stunner is now Owens' default finisher. Owens would discuss the decision to change his finisher during an interview with Fightful, and the former Universal Champion stated, "I asked Austin if I could do it, first and foremost. I'd been thinking about it for a while, and this was back in 2016-17, and I felt like everybody was doing a powerbomb of some sort, just short of doing pop-up powerbombs. I'm pretty sure I saw some guys do it too. That's a whole other thing of people take away from other people when we're all on the same show and same team. That's a whole other issue. I was seeing all these people doing powerbombs and I wanted to stand out with something different. At the same time, I wanted to do something that people can be excited about. I got this feeling of maybe I can use the Stunner. It's been used throughout the years by a lot of people, but it wasn't a finishing move anymore. I thought maybe if I get advice from Stone Cold himself, I can figure out how to make it a finishing move again. I went to him, asked him if it was okay with him using it, and he was very happy to say yes. He was wondering when someone would come and ask him. He gave me the green light, I took it through the proper channels, and it was deemed that it wasn't the right time for it, but eventually it became the right time, and here we are now. Number 5. Matt Hardy. During his career, Matt Hardy has predominantly used the Twist of Fate as his finishing move, but the issue with this is that it was also being used by his brother Jeff, so fans would always compare the two versions of the move. Matt Hardy would use his signature move known as the Side Effect, which looked far better than his version of the Twist of Fate. This was a sit-out side slam, and nobody on the roster was doing a move of this nature. This move without a doubt should have been chosen as Hardy's default finishing move, as it would have made him stand out and would have certainly reduced the comparisons between the Hardy Boys' moveset. Number 4. Dolph Ziggler. For the longest time, Dolph Ziggler would be using a move known as the Zigzag. This move was unique and it was perfect for Ziggler's character. However, in recent years, the Zigzag has transitioned into a signature move, and Ziggler opts to use a generic superkick as his finishing move. The superkicks are one of the most overused moves in pro wrestling, and a wrestler using the move as their finisher doesn't really work anymore. According to Arn Anderson on his podcast, when Ziggler wanted to make the superkick his finisher, there was a ton of reservations from WWE management. Anderson stated, "Dolph's got a set and he doesn't mind saying what he thinks, and even though he's right most of the time, that's the wrong thing to do once you walk up in Gorilla." Well, the reality is that the company wants blind devotion. Dolph had an opinion for the longest time 10 years ago. It was the fact that Dolph, who throws a hell of a super kick, the office did not want him using the super kick because that was Shawn's finish, but Shawn was retired, Shawn was gone. You can't retire moves. How many super kicks do you see today, for God's sake? Probably one in every match in every company. So that was a heated issue years ago, but Dolph, he had an opinion and he would voice it. Number 3. Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin's End of Days finishing move is one of the most credible finishing moves in all of WWE. Up until WrestleMania 38, nobody had ever kicked out of the move, which is a rare achievement, as making a finisher credible is something WWE have notoriously struggled with in recent years. Corbin has a signature move known as the Deep Six, which is perhaps even better than the End of Days. Corbin swings his opponent with such velocity, and he manages to make it look devastating every single time. Even though the move does look brutal to take, Corbin has attained a reputation for being one of the safest talents in WWE, and he's received unanimous praise for taking care of talents who had pre-existing injuries. Number 2. Sami Zayn. The Helluva Kick has been Sami Zayn's finishing move ever since he signed with WWE, and whilst the move looks great upon delivery, it's rather anticlimactic as a finisher. Zayn's notable signature move is the Blue Thunder Bomb, and this without a question should be his finisher. It's always without fail delivered perfectly, and it helps Zayn land in a perfect pinning combination, so it makes logical sense to become a finishing move. Amazingly, Zayn has been able to perform the move on anyone on the roster, no matter their size, so there's really no reason why Zayn can't make the Blue Thunder Bomb his default finishing move. And number 1. Goldberg. When Goldberg made his debut on WCW TV, he began to use the Jackhammer as his finishing move. This would be set up by a devastating spear, but it was always argued that the spear always looked far superior to the jackhammer. This has always been the case in recent years. Goldberg has struggled to perform the jackhammer during his latest WWE run and has almost injured talents with the move. Goldberg's spear, however, has remained as deadly as ever. It looks absolutely brutal, and if Goldberg plans on wrestling again, it would be a wise move for Goldberg to abandon the jackhammer and make the spear his brand new permanent finishing move. But there you have it, folks, 10 WWE wrestlers whose signature move was far more devastating than their actual finisher. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.